Hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I am Susan, your hostess. We are in my kitchen, so welcome to my kitchen. What am I doing today? I'm doing an open collaboration with Luann's Kitchen. It's called hashtag Backup Label Recipes. If you're interested in this, it is going to go on through December 31st. It is a year-long collaboration. I just ask that you would friend Luann when you join the collaboration, or if you're watching and commenting, give her some love and appreciation for what she's doing with this. So, backup label recipes. Well, one of my favorite things to make, and everybody thinks I have a special magic recipe for this, y'all. It is the Hershey's Perfectly Chocolate Cake. It's found on the back of most of the boxes, but you can also find the recipe on Pinterest because people are taking pictures of the back of these labels of the Hershey's boxes. They have a lot of great recipes, and I will also be doing the Perfectly Chocolate frosting, but with a twist because I don't follow their directions exactly on that one. So you're going to get two recipes in one with this video. So y'all grab a pen and paper because I'm going to go through the ingredients and let you know what I'm doing so that you can see everything that's going on. The ingredients. We're going to add our dry ingredients to our bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 cups of sugar that I've already pre-measured. Now I'm using a raw sugar. You can use regular white sugar if you want to, or you can substitute this for monk fruit sweetener and make it a lower carb type of cake. I'm going to put in 1 3/4 cups. It calls for all-purpose flour. So if I was doing the all-purpose flour, I would add 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1½ teaspoons of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm opting to use self-rising flour. So I've already pre-measured this, and it's 1 3/4 cups of self-rising flour. Next, I'm going to add in my Hershey's cocoa. It calls for 3/4 cup of Hershey's cocoa. So I'm going to add that into my bowl. And I love Hershey's cocoa, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this. Just give it a good stir, because we're going to add our wet ingredients next. Okay, the recipe calls for 2 eggs. My ducks recently started laying again, so this is a duck egg. It is an equivalent of 2 hen eggs, and it is richer, it's higher in cholesterol, and it just gives baked goods so much more moisture and body. So I'm going to use one of my fresh duck eggs. And in case you've never seen a duck egg before, they have a rather large yolk in them. And there it is, folks. It is huge. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the bowl. Set that aside. I got to wipe my hands. I got egg on my thumbnail and my counter. So I'm a clean as you go cook. To this, we're going to add 1 cup of milk. This is raw cow's milk that has the cream taken off. And 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. Now I am using a vegetable oil. We don't cook a lot with vegetable oil around here, but for this recipe it is important. Or you could absolutely substitute that with applesauce. Put 1/2 cup of applesauce in place of the oil. And our last ingredient, well, we have 2 more ingredients. We need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I'm using La Vencedora pure vanilla extract. This was gifted to me by Lazy Days Ahead with Jess and Lisa. And I still had some egg on my thumb, on the other thumb, so I had to take care of that. So we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of this. And I use this very sparingly. I love this stuff. This is about $80 a bottle according to Jess and Lisa, so it's very well worth purchasing through them if you're interested in a good quality vanilla extract. It calls for 1 cup of boiling water. I find that I can use cold water with this recipe and it turns out just as good, or I can do warm tap water. I pulled some warm tap water. I'm going to add it into my mixer. And while this is mixing, I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. And I'm going to grease my baking pans. Now, they say 2 9-inch pans, but I always cook this in a oblong pan. And I'm actually going to be gifting this to a friend of mine that has just recently had surgery. Part of it, anyway. It's going to get loud, folks. I'm going to start this off slow. It's got a lot of powder in there and I don't want to go in all over my kitchen. And I'm going to turn it up to about 3. And the recipe says to mix for 2 minutes. Now I just used a little bit of vegetable shortening and wiped down my pan. I do not use those sprays because they have things in the sprays that I don't want to consume. And then I took a little bit of flour and cocoa powder and mixed it and covered my dish or dusted my dish. This has been on for about 2 minutes. It is a thin cake batter, but do not fear, folks. This is a really good cake batter. Let's get rid of those beaters. We don't need those any longer. And I'm just going to pour this into my cake pan. And don't worry if you see little white specks of flour or anything. It just does not make much difference when it's baked, and they'll know it's homemade. So we've got that into our pan. We're going to put this into a preheated oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And this needs to bake for 30 to 35 minutes or until a wooden toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. We'll be back when it's baked. In the meantime, I'm going to get this cleaned up, get my beaters cleaned up, and get all my ingredients together for the frosting. And the frosting is actually going to go on the cake while the cake is hot, not when it's cooled, because this is a fudgy cake. While we're waiting on the cake to finish baking, I've cleaned my mixer and my beaters, my bowl and everything, and my spatula so that I can make the frosting. The frosting is 1/2 stick or 1/2 cup of butter. That's 1 stick of butter or margarine. I'm actually using Amish butter that was canned in July of 2022. This is very good butter, by the way. They can their own butter to make it last and keep it shelf stable. You're going to use 2/3 cup of Hershey's cocoa. I've already got it measured out. And you're going to use 3 cups of powdered sugar. Get that out of my way. I'm going to give that a stir. Now you can also add in a pinch of salt. I usually put a pinch of salt in anything that has cocoa in it because cocoa can be bitter, so I'm going to grab my salt and do just a pinch. Grab my salt cellar, and this is a measuring set that I got up at Yoder's. It's an Amish store, and it's got different size things on here. Here's a drop, a smidge, and a pinch, a dash, and a tad. So we're going to use the pinch. Now that's not in the recipe, but I do that just to make sure that my frosting isn't bitter. Get this out of my way. I'm going to give that a good mix. It calls for 1/3 or 1/2 cup of butter. And I grabbed this off the shelf because I know that it's going to be soft and I don't have to soften my butter. So we've got that. And I need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Again, I'm using the Lavensadora. And it calls for 1/3 cup of milk. I don't use milk because I leave my cakes out. If you use a milk-based frosting, then you would have to refrigerate it. So I'm going to put in 1/3 cup of cold water. We're going to get this on our mixer. It's going to get a little loud, but I'm going to start out slow. And allow that to incorporate. All right, we have a beautiful frosting. I'm just going to lift that up. You see it's sticking to your beaters. That's a good sign you have a good thick frosting. There it is, folks. It is a done cake. I'm pretty sure. I've been checking it. It actually cooked for 45 minutes in my oven. It's still a little sticky in the middle, but it's close enough to being done that I'm happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow this to cool for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to add our frosting, and I'll be right back. I don't have a fancy spreader for my frosting. I use a butter knife or this little wooden knife. Either one will work fine. My cake's been cooling for a few minutes, and we're just going to start on one side and work our way around and just kind of get that frosting to start melting a little bit into the cake. This is how you get a good fudgy frosting on your cakes. And everybody will think that you just did some kitchen magic. And I like to go around the edges first and then kind of fill in the middle. That way I'm sealing the edges of the cake as I go. And if you have more frosting than you need, you can always freeze your frosting in a bag. Then take it out, bring it to room temperature, and frost your cakes. Another thing you can do with this cake mix is, in place of the vanilla, you can use peppermint extract. And peppermint extract will give you a peppermint flavored chocolate cake, and it's delicious. A lot of people will add coffee to their chocolate, but this is just a rich chocolate cake. I really don't see a need to do that. I'm going to use this to get this off my knife. Getting to the bottom of the bowl. You can also use a plastic spatula. Let's get this corner covered. And I'm going to start moving the frosting around and getting the middle covered. And you can probably see that the frosting is already starting to melt a little bit. Beautiful buttery frosting, y'all. You can add a little peaks to the frosting if you want to, or you can just spread it however you like to do. Now this will have a little bit of a hard shell to it, but the cake and the frosting and everything is just going to be so creamy and delicious when it is cooled. There we go, folks. We have a beautiful cake. Can you see the frosting changing already? It's like magic. My secret's out, folks. This is what I call a fudgy chocolate cake. Isn't that gorgeous? And as it'll have a little bit of a shine to it, and it is just so delicious. And I think we're going to end up just taking the whole cake to my friend and let them enjoy this, because my husband and I really don't need all the sweets. But I thought, what a cake to make for a birthday celebration or somebody that has had surgery in the hospital. I do have a little bit of frosting left in the bowl, not a lot. You can actually take this and spread it on some crackers and have you a sweet treat. Well, my friends, we have made a homemade, from scratch, Hershey's Perfectly chocolate cake and the Perfectly chocolate frosting from the back of the package. There it is, the back of the package. This is an old container. It doesn't even have any cocoa in it anymore. I just keep it around because of the recipes. But y'all try this cake out. Let me know what you think in the comments. And do me a favor, come back with your own recipe and join in the collaboration. It's a year long. You've got all kinds of time to do several videos. This is hashtag Back of the Label Recipes, hosted by Luann's Kitchen. I want to thank Luann for coming up with this wonderful collaboration. It goes on until December the 31st of 2024. So thank you, folks, for watching, and may you be fully blessed.